Welcome to the Fund Finance Expert Talk. I'm Mbayi, Head of Bank and Finance of the Luxembourg Law Firm Praxio. And today I have the pleasure to welcome Julia Keppe. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Michael. Hi.
Julia, can you maybe further introduce yourself and your firm, your practice?
Of course. So thank you so much for having me. As you said, my name is Julia Keppe and I'm a partner in the Walker's Banking and Finance team based in Jersey. I co-chair the fund finance practice alongside Zoe Hallam in Guernsey. So as with most offshore practices, our work is varied, but my particular focus and area of expertise is, of course, fund finance. So I joined Walker's nearly 6 years ago to build out the fund finance offering alongside Zoe. And I think we'll touch on the detail a bit more shortly, but delighted to report and reflective of the market generally. Practice is booming.
And what led you to fund finance? Or did it start?
So, I mean, I've always really done fund finance. I trained and I started my career with a US law firm. I was at Debevoise for 11 years or so. I was based predominantly in London, but I also did 2 years in New York. So that was absolutely amazing, obviously. But at Debevoise, I did a mix of leveraged and fund finance work, typically, sponsor side. So acting at all stages for our funds clients, plus also some lender side fund finance work. So really, sort of professionally anyway, I grew up doing fund finance from the start of my career. I moved offshore in 2018, and it was very much the plan was so that I could carry on doing the same deals, but just maybe a slightly different role, perhaps, bit more focused on work-life balance. I had a 3-year-old at the time, so quite full on. In any event, Walkers were looking to grow, in particular their fund finance practice. So in 2020, I just jumped at the opportunity to help build and grow something in the Channel Islands, obviously alongside Zoe. And I'm pretty sure you can relate to this, Michael. It's quite hard work, trying to do the execution, the day job alongside building and growing a practice. But, as cliche as it sounds, it's so rewarding and, really, really happy that I'm here. And we're still growing, still trying to get there.
Mm-hmm. And were there like pivotal moment in your career or pivotal mentor?
So, yes, I mean, thinking about this question, I think most people in the European and even US fund finance space and Asian may know Nathan Parker, who is a partner at King & Spalding. And we first met at Debevoise, I would say about 20, if not more years ago. And Nathan, who is going to absolutely kill me for saying all of this about him, but he has been a mentor to me since day one. And I really honestly wouldn't be where I am without his support and advice. He's going to be so embarrassed, but never mind. But he's done everything from sort of that day one, teaching me how fund finance works when I was an NQ, to marking up my CV, to marking up articles I've written in the past. He's just always been such a source of support for me. And, I think he's also really shaped how I want to be as a partner. And I mean, I don't always nail it, but I aim for sensible, calm and approachable. And, I would say again, I'm sure like you, Michael, there are so many people who've had an impact on my career. And there are so many people we work with who are amazing in this fund finance industry. But if I had to pick one person that has really shaped my trajectory and has been pivotal, in my career, it would be Nathan.
Mm-hmm. And for like young lawyers, have you any advice to give?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's lots of advice, but to try and keep it helpful. I mean, in the fund finance space, I would say get to the events, get to all the events you can. The fund finance market is a relatively small world. So we have really good industry bodies, the FFA being the main one. So sign up to the FFA, the LMA Fund Finance and similar updates. I appreciate sometimes a cost involved. So hopefully their firms, wherever they're working, are supportive of attendance at these events. But just get out there and meet people. I know how daunting that can be as a junior lawyer, but I think you pretty quickly realize how friendly everyone is. And this is just a great area to work in. So yeah, get out there, meet people, and also read. Just read the guidance, get your technicals up, go to the speaking slots. The FF University, from Finance University, that the FFA put on is superb. The LMA do sessions as well on the documents they produce. So yeah, focus on your technical, because, you know, finance generally is quite a restrictive area. Like the language is a barrier because it's so technical. So read around, get familiar with the terms, and then when you start doing the deals, you just find it so much easier.
Indeed. In terms of market updates, what are the market update or trends that you see there in the fund finance space?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, I think again, it might be something that you're familiar with. So we largely follow Europe, or tend to be on European deals, some US as well. So those trends are, I'm sure, you know, familiar to everyone listening to this, but, you know, we're seeing a lot more private credit lending in the space. You know, there's more assets, there's more NAV and asset-based lending at the moment, alongside the usual subscription lines. I mean, you know, for me personally, I love working on the NAV deals. They're a bit more bespoke. You can get involved in the structuring, and occasionally you get to be a creative lawyer, which is not always the case. You know, we see a few GP lines, you know, liquidity lines thrown in to keep things interesting. Deal timing, I think, is interesting at the moment. I'm sure that lots of people will be familiar with this. It's either sort of turbo urgent, sign within a couple of weeks, or closing is pushed and there's more discussions, commercial negotiations going on, sort of push things down the line. So, you know, I think that will probably track a lot of the onshore work. And, you know, again, I'm sure that's what you're seeing as well in the market.
Yeah, indeed, I echo with what you say in terms of market trends. We are seeing the same trend, and as you say, we tend to work in cross-border transaction in Luxembourg. So it can be with Europe, London, or with France, with the US, Asia. It's like yes, center, because you have yes, Luxembourg is an important foreign domicile, and then but we have yes, the credit agreement, the first agreement is governed by New York law or English law. It's from time to time in Luxembourg as well. There are some transactions. Indeed.
That's interesting. Okay.
In terms of a security package for subscription facilities, what is the typical security package for the type of transaction where you have a fund based in Jersey, and what are the perfection formalities?
So I think we're probably very similar to Luxembourg, Michael, but and most jurisdictions. So when there's a Jersey fund, Jersey general partner, we have capital call rights security and bank account security. So perfection's pretty simple. We register in Jersey. We've got a public security interest register. In terms of priority, and I don't want to get too legal on all of this, but the account security should have at a minimum a notice to the account bank, but typically it's a notice and acknowledgement, all in the account bank standard form. Very well trodden path here. It's not negotiated, all put in place same day, no issues, and that's pretty market standard nowadays. On the capital call security, so under Jersey law, notice isn't a creation of security, it's not perfection, it's not priority, it's entirely a commercial decision. And I think, again, it's pretty well, you know, understood now that a notice is sent to each investor in the fund to notify them of the security being in place and all of that. So yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And yeah, that's what we typically see on our sublines.
Mm-hmm. In terms of due diligence, where you have a fund based in Jersey, what are the points that you are looking at?
So again, I'm not sure many surprises here. So the main one, you know, if we're acting for a lender, that is, you know, the power to borrow and grant security. Make sure they have these powers and who exercises them. So, you know, GP manager. We'll then look at some of the stuff that's really important, but perhaps sort of ancillary to the right to borrow and grant security. So use of proceeds from capital calls, can they be used to repay a facility? Waterfall provisions, lenders are paid out first, and, you know, or if an investment period has ended. We look at the remedies for defaulting LPs, all those kinds of things. And I think, as you know your audience knows, LPAs now are geared towards these subscription facilities. So we usually see really helpful and specific language acknowledging a subline may be put in place. LPs will fund without set-off, counterclaim, etc. And I mean, again, the point for Jersey, I guess, is that we work alongside our lead counsel on the LPA. So they'll review. And as a practical matter, most Jersey LPAs are actually English LPAs with a, you know, Jersey governing law and the relevant regulatory points added. the point being is that English and US counsel, I should say, are also very familiar with the LPAs we deal with. They follow the forms they're seeing onshore. So lender side, main role for Jersey, I think, relates to the regulatory review of the fund, making sure it has what it needs, the GP has what it needs, or the manager, no glaring omissions that we really should have spotted. So work alongside our funds team, our funds colleagues on the Jersey side, and the same point, I guess, if we're borrower side, then we'll be giving the capacity and authority opinion. We've probably set up the fund, so we work with them to make sure everything's as it should be, and dealing with lender counsel.
Thank you, Julia. And to close, if you are to pass your mindset to the next generation, what will it be?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a tough question. So honestly, I don't know if this is a bit indulgent to say, but I think it's work hard. In this industry, if you work hard, you'll progress and you will just have the most rewarding career. I mean, I really do genuinely love my job. It is a super fun industry to be in, but if you're technically strong, get that sorted, then you'll get to be good at your job and just have a really, really good time with good colleagues, good counterparts at the same time. I mean, I say that having just returned from Miami and the Global Symposium, so perhaps I'm still in Miami mode a little bit. But I think hard work will get you really far in this industry. And be organised. Sorry, I always forget this one. I think when you're starting out, you can cover off so much by just being organised, because knowing where the documents are, particularly as a lawyer, what's the status of things. If you can do that, you are just such a valuable asset, and it'll set you in really, really good stead going forward.
Thank you very much, Julia, for your time today. It was a pleasure to have this discussion, and thank you as well to the audience for your time, and see you soon for the next episode. Bye-bye.